Okay, we've got 46 people connected tonight, and we'll hopefully some others will join us here. Of course, want to start as we always do in prayer. So the prayer that I thought would be fitting for us is the same prayer that we've been praying for a couple of years now that the disciples put together. Give me 1 second, sorry. There we go. Prayer that the disciples put together when we met last time in 2019. And so we'll pray this prayer together. If I can get my act together here. There we go. So let's pray in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. For 150 years, Lord, you have sustained our school here at St. John's, where children come to know you, love you, and become your disciples. This foundation in their faith guides them throughout their entire life. For this, we thank you. We also thank you for the many who have given so much of themselves to build and strengthen our school. Lord, inspire your people to join us in the mission to bring renewed life to our school. Raise up more volunteers and laborers who are committed to this important work. Guide the parents of our children as they make choices about their education. Inspire our school, faculty, and staff to labor with love each day. Give them clarity in their mission and confidence in knowing their reward will be great in heaven. Most of all, Lord, help us to do your will each and every day for the glory of your name. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Great. Just checking here. I think this Jeremy is probably our Jeremy and Kate. So I'm going to just click a thing here. And so when we were talking about this, here's how tonight is going to work for us. We've got an informational presentation that's broken up amongst, I think, 4 people. And so you're going to get all the information, all the facts, all the truth. It's not truthiness. There's no fake news here. This is straight from the mouth. And so we're going to do our best to get everything to you and answer your questions. And then we'll have question and answer after that. So when we were thinking about this project, we saw this as a continuation, and tonight as a continuation of our first town hall that we had on June 26, 2019. And when we met that time, we explored a book that I found here in my office called The Golden Jubilee of Franciscans Coming to Minnesota. And it had all about the history of St. John the Baptist. And so I wanted to call us back to that and remind us of those very poignant quotes that the priests and whoever put that book together did a great job. So here are some of the quotes from that book. Next to the church, the school is the most important building of the parish. The school question is the most important question of the Catholic people of America. Upon the school depends the future of the church and the state. At that time, Bishop Fenwick said, I do not give a straw for an education that is not accompanied by religion and has not found its foundation in religion. The school is the necessary means and help for the parents of the Christian education of their children. The school builds up the hearth, builds up the character, sharpens the conscience. The school makes good citizens of the state, good members of the church and human society, and heirs of heaven. And I really like the first line of this because it talks about the central point I want to talk about tonight, in that we're in a collaboration together and a cooperation between our school and our parents. The school is a necessary means for the help of the parents for the Christian education of their children. Therefore, the parish of Jordan has taken great care and has brought great sacrifice to have a Catholic school. As early as the year 1860, we find in Jordan a Catholic school, and up to the present, we look with pride upon our own school. Remember that this book was written in 1925. Our children should become not only learned boys and girls, but also good boys and girls. This necessitates the teaching of morality and the training of the conscience. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to have Sue Calling speak about the history of middle school at St. John's, and some of our rationale and our decision making. We're going to talk to Zach Holler, who's going to talk about, I think I said his last name right, who's going to talk about the opportunity for growth in education and in our community. We're going to hear a witness from Jeremy and Kate Gable, who have transitioned one of their children into our school, had some other children that went through earlier. And then I'm going to talk about the plan and what needs to be done. And then Mark Zimich, our Finance Council Chair, is going to talk about the finances. And then we'll have questions and answers after that. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Sue and see if I can manage this. Okay, Sue.
Are we good? I think I unmuted. Hello. Thank you everyone for being here, wherever here is for you. Really appreciate you taking the time to be together tonight. And I just want to share some information about our journey to this day as a community. As Father alluded to in his slide, St. John the Baptist Catholic Community founded its church and school back in the 1860s at roughly the same time. Historical records indicate that the two, the church and the school, even likely shared a building for a while. So it's clear that education has always been a primary mission of St. John's. During much of its early history, St. John's School housed many children from 1st to 8th grade. This changed in the late 1960s when, squeezed for space, 7th and 8th grade were actually dropped in order to alleviate crowding in the building. And from that point, St. John's continued as a 1st grade through 6th grade school, and kindergarten and preschool were added along the way. Until then, in 2003, the Jordan Public School District, until 2003, the Jordan Public School District housed 7th through 12th grade in the same building, which really made 7th grade a natural transition point for both students who attended Jordan Elementary School and St. John the Baptist Catholic School. But then this structure changed when the Jordan High School was built in 2003, and the building models shifted to have an elementary school and then have a middle school, which was operated from 5th through 8th grade. And then the high school became a true high school at 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade in the same building. This evolution of a 5th grade transition point, that is one of our challenges to student retention today. It challenges our students between the 4th and the 5th grade year at St. John's. Families who want their children to continue their education in the Jordan School District wonder, and understandably wonder, what it will be like for their son or their daughter to join the Jordan Middle School as a 7th grader. And families who desire a Catholic education, a Catholic high school education, they are also met with a 2-year gap between the end of 6th grade and the beginning of 9th grade. And so that leaves our families kind of wondering, even from the very beginnings of their child's education at St. John's, what about 7th and 8th grade? Well, we have successfully bridged a gap in the recent past. For example, we added a 2nd preschool class to widen our funnel at the youngest ages and increase our kindergarten enrollment. And this intentional dedication of space and resources is really a success story. Our kindergarten enrollment is very healthy, and we will no longer have a class small enough to necessitate multi-age grouping of 2 different grade levels in the same room. A similar intentional approach to bridging the gap from 6th grade to 9th grade is very attractive to St. John's families. Having been a St. John's parent and as a parishioner and a teacher, and now this year as this short little stint in administration, I'm in a unique position to hear people's stories. I know there are families who have left us for a K through 8 Catholic school, so their children can continue into high school at a Catholic school without needing to worry about where to send them for 7th and 8th grade. I also know that I visited with families who cite that 5th grade transition point as their reason for either not choosing St. John's for their younger children, or for choosing to leave after 4th grade. And it tugs at my heart, because so often some of these personal stories shared mom to mom or teacher to parent come with tears. They're like, I wish we could stay, but we just have a hard time getting over that bump in the road. And so I know that helping families get from 6th grade through 8th grade in a one-stop educational package is very attractive to families. And so when we finish the upstairs, we will have a space then for our current students, and also to be able to fill this gap and meet our families' needs.
Wonderful. Thanks, Sue.
That's what I got.
Yep,
Thank
I'm
you.
trying to run this Zoom, and I don't know if I'm doing it right.
No, you're good.
So I am going to try to spotlight Zach, and Zach Haller's going to speak to us. He's the chair of the School Advisory Council. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Father. And thank you all for taking the time out of your evening to join this town hall meeting. We're really, really excited about this opportunity that we have in front of us and that is before us. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Zach Haller, and I have been on the School Advisory Council now for almost 5 years. I have been the chairperson for coming up on 2 years now. And I have a 4-year-old, or 4-year-old, I have a 10-year-old daughter who is a 4th grader at St. John's, and she has been there since preschool. So that's just to give you a little bit of history of where I'm at with St. John's and my involvement with the school. As you can see on this graph, and really what I'm going to talk about is the opportunity that's in front of us with the growth that Jordan is seeing. You know, very clearly on this graph, you can see the population trends for Jordan are up, are moving more and more and more each and every year. More and more people are leaving the big cities and the urban areas. Population trends for Jordan are showing that. The city's strategic plan for growth and enhancement of Jordan play right into what we at St. John's, the school, are trying to accomplish. And as a school, we always need to be moving forward and taking those positive steps, big or small, to adapt to the changes in our growing community. Change is growth, and growth is a good thing. It can and will benefit both the school and the parish together. The additions and plans we are looking at making now will help make our school and parish community better prepared for the future and a much more attractive option for our current families, as well as the ones we will gain as the community grows. We need to be proactive to the needs of our community, both as a school and a church. With options come opportunity for retaining our current families and attracting new families to the school and, more importantly, the parish. Adding our future 7th and 8th grades will give our students a stronger foundation entering the high school years. We pride ourselves on building future leaders in our community. So let's give them as many tools as we can to make that happen. We are ultimately investing in the long-term success of not only St. John's the school, but the parish as well. The school and the parish are one big family. This proposed project benefits the entire family as a whole. And I think this is a very, very exciting time to be at St. John's. It's growth is always good. And this is just a very, very exciting time for everybody that is involved in this project. Right down from all of the staff, father, and all the parish members. This is a really good thing that we're looking to accomplish and looking to get done. And we look forward to your input, your feedback, your questions. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. And again, thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate it.
Perfect, Zach. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy. Let's see if I can get this right. And you can tell us a little bit about yourself, Jeremy. And I see you're flying solo this evening.
I am, yes.
That's wonderful.
Sorry.
We don't get to hear your voice, actually, from what I understand on video. So
Yes.
it's like an inside joke. But so, yeah, go for it and tell us about what's happening. Yep.
Sure. Well, first of all, Kate apologizes. She was kind of got stuck at the hospital, so she had to work until later tonight. So there are a shortage of nurses there. So, but I guess I can give you a little bit of history of my family's history with the church and the school specifically. I have 5 children. I have 3 older ones, one who is an adult and through college and living in Wisconsin, and a senior and a freshman who all attended St. John's. And we were very involved. Actually, my oldest son was the last class to be in the old school. So he was actually in kindergarten in the old school. Then, we have I have a 3rd grader who we actually started at the public school. At that time, we grappled with the decision, and she had, long story, but she ended up at the other school. So now with Sam, we were given everything that was going on in the world. We were deciding what we were going to do and where we were going to go. And we obviously went with Father, and we met with we have a lot of friends and family that are still involved with the school, and made the decision to bring Sam to hit the path with St. John's. And we had no intention of it being temporary. That's why we kind of weighed this heavy decision that where we send him, this is where he's going to go, and he's going to complete his education. And I can tell you that it was the right decision, and we were thrilled at how well it's went. The teachers, the staff, everybody's been incredible. You guys have handled this pandemic so well, and kept a sense of normalcy for Sam, which was huge for us. And just that, because the disappointing to see what the kids have had to give up and what kids have, in order with their life, and it's been so upended. And basically a lot of kids, this has been a wash for their school year. But I can't say the same for Sam. It's been outside of masks here and there, it's been relatively normal, which was such a gift for us, and it was a great decision. And now kind of leading towards what you're talking about tonight, the 7th and 8th grade, I'm excited about it because, I would have sent my older children to that 7th and 8th grade program. At that time, I was actually served 5 years on your advisory board, and we tried everything we could to try to get the funds and to get the backing to complete this school or complete that program. And we were never able to quite get there. And the fact that you guys have been able to do this, I'm very impressed and excited. And Sam, and we're actually, discussing what we're going to do with Reese. If we're going to try it, at this point, if 7th and 8th grade is available, then it's a little easier to make a move versus just making a move for a year or 2. So, I'm very excited about that. And, we did an interview with the whole, I'm not sure about the video, what video comes out, but one of the things we talked about in the video is, the hang up that people have perhaps in the 7th and 8th grade to the small private school, with the sports and all that. And to me, as being from a very sports centric family, both sides of the family, it's such a minute just part of our decision. And the parts that St. John's is offering is in so much is available in the community that if you're looking for that, you can find it. You don't really need to be in the school to be a part of that. And to me, that was like one of the hangups, and to me, it's just not a hangup at all. And to me, it's feel like it's very easy to convince parents to make this commitment. Just the positives so far outweigh than any drawbacks that I could say from sending to a private school, from the financial to the other parts that I'm excited for this opportunity as a parent to see what my younger children. I mean, I've seen the value of what this school can bring, because I've seen the positive effects that my older children have greatly benefited from, and I'm excited to see this new opportunity for other kids.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeremy. That's really great. So I'm going to try to get it back to me. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay. So thank you. Very good. So I want to keep things moving here, and we're going to talk about more details. So, and we're doing great on time. So we really see this as a parish project. This isn't just a school thing. And at first, it's certainly started that way. But as we sat down and we talked about it, John Bruning and Tim Siebenaller and everybody around the table did such a great job of saying, you know, this is not just a school thing. It really affects, it's a parish-wide project, because the ripple effects of finishing that space are going to affect so many different places. So for instance, the first place I think of is faith formation. We'll have the opportunity to have more breakout rooms for faith formation. If you've been here in a normal year during faith formation, you will find kids with their catechist stuffed in every corner, every crevice of this building. No matter how big or small those rooms are, we try to make it accommodating for a faith formation breakout. And this year, because of COVID, we had to really think we couldn't use all the spaces, so we had to rearrange things. But this is going to give us the opportunity to make those breakout spaces, which then actually opens up another space for us here in the parish office on the second floor to create a second Catechesis of the Good Shepherd atrium. So the Catechesis of the Good Shepherd program right now is for preschoolers, and the room we have will remain for preschoolers, but then we will add on an additional room for the next level of, so the kids that graduate from preschool in that program then would move on to the next atrium room. And if you haven't seen an atrium, I highly suggest you stop by and take a look. Schedule a time with Diane Treadle, and she will be happy to show you around and show you what the kids do in there. We do have a little video on our website for the Catechesis of the Good Shepherd, and it shows some of the things. But that's a tremendous growing program for us on the faith formation side. It will create more space for RCIA. If you were to be here tonight, you would see that RCIA is meeting out in the upper gathering space. We set up the white tables, and so this will create more meeting space for them as well. It will create a larger quilting room for our quilters, and with more storage, cabinet storages, with closets, proper flooring that they need. When I met with the quilters probably 6 months ago and talked to them about this, they said that they would love to have a hard floor surface so that, you know, if they drop needles and stuff like that, they can find it quickly. This will be a bigger space for them, so they'll have more room to walk around their looms or whatever those things are, where the quilt is stretched out on, and have more space. And so we're creating a separate room and a separate entrance for them, close by bathrooms for them to have up there. By doing that, it opens up the current quilting room to become a choir room, which we have not had here. The choir has been practicing down in the library and hasn't had a proper like choir practice room for us to store. And I know when we think about these things, you think, well, the choir's not meeting right now. Well, yes, that's true, but they'll be meeting very soon in 6 months or whatever it takes before, when we're out of this COVID, we'll be growing that choir program. And so we'll have a practice space for them. It will create more classroom space for a proper middle school. One of the things that I noticed over the last few years here is that our 5th and 6th graders don't really feel like middle schoolers here. And we do lots of things to try to differentiate them. We give them different opportunities. We even gave them different uniforms last year to help them feel like they had graduated from the little kid classes. But the space here, you would see very quickly that they're right with all the other little kids, and they feel that. And so this is going to create a space that's for a proper middle school environment for our 5th and 6th graders currently, to be separated from that and take on more responsibility, be challenged in more ways, and to grow in their confidence. It will also create a proper room for our before school and after school care. So we would be moving 5th and 6th grade upstairs. We would move 4th grade then down the hall. So it opens up that classroom there by the bathrooms. And then that would become a before school, after school care. Our before school and after school care, specifically after school, is like, it's full all the time. And I think we've got 20 some kids in there. It's ridiculous. So Amy Mahold does an amazing job holding that all together and doing it with grace and poise. But she needs a room where there can be toys and stuff for the kids to do and play with. They again use the library, which just is not the right space for them. They can read books, but there's just not much else. And then of course we'll have other spaces, those spaces upstairs, to be able to be used by other groups. So the Catholic Watchmen, the Knights of Columbus, Bible studies. And so again, we want to emphasize that this is a parish project. Moving on to the school, I want to talk about enrollment. So currently this year we have 111 kids enrolled here. So you can see the class breakout there: preschool 35 kids, 18 in kindergarten, 16 in the 1st grade, 13 in second grade, 8 in 3rd, 4th grade 10, and 5th grade 8, 6th grade 3. If you look at the numbers for next year, the two numbers on the left, preschool and kindergarten, those are our expected numbers. We're still short of those, but we always fill those in the last minute. Families come to us like the day preschool starting and say, can we join? So we don't have any, we have an expectation we will meet those numbers. And I'm very good at hitting goals. So we're going to hit those numbers. And then you see the other grades. These are confirmed enrolled kids. We have 19 in 1st grade, 20 in 2nd grade, 15 in 3rd grade, 10 in 4th grade, 11 in 5th grade, and 10 in 6th grade. That's 138 kids for next year. We, as you've heard, Guardian Angel School in Chaska is closing at the end of the year. We've met with a number of families. We've currently enrolled one family just last week, like 2 days after they announced their closing. This family enrolled here for next year with 3 kids. And we've got 2 other families that are going to be touring on Tuesday. One of them has 5 kids and the other has 3 kids. And so we could be adding another 8 kids within a week of time. So these numbers have nowhere to go but up for even this next year. And I don't feel like I'm counting my chickens or eggs before they hatch. Our school is growing. Here's the historical timeline. We've had a 90% increase in enrollment in the first 4 grade levels. And that's the most important things to look at, because that's the feeder part, which then helps us to move them through the system. And you might say, well, yeah, but some of them leave. That's the whole idea, is we're trying to get them to not leave. And so we're trying to do everything we can to make this a great place for them to stay all the way through 8th grade. And so we've got 92 kids in those first 4 grade levels for next year. We've got 82 this year. If you look back to 2013, we had 48. So we're definitely going in the right direction with the beginning years of school. Our total enrollment projections for the year. So what I wanted to do is project this out and say, what would Sam's graduating class look like? Because Sam will be the first kid to be here all the way through the K through 8. And so what would his graduating class look like? And at that time, we will have 198 kids projected in the school. If we continue up these numbers of around full in our preschool, and then transitioning at least half of them into kindergarten. That's our goals. The importance of Catholic education. This is a really important slide I want to take a second on. We don't live in the same world we lived in 5 years ago or even a year ago. I think all of you parents are rightly concerned about what your kids are being educated in public school. And I'll say this with all love for my friends who teach in the public school, but it's not their it's not theirs to say what is taught. They're told what they have to do. And so it's becoming more and more difficult for families to make the decision to put their kids into public school. And there's a new program from Governor Walz that has new curriculum requirements. It's called the North Star program. And if you haven't seen it, you should Google it and look up what the North Star program from Governor Walz is. It's full of some things that are very scary that our kids in public school will be taught. And I think that if we want to maintain the values of Catholicism, which is dignity for every person, we need to talk about, really have a hard conversation about whether what he's proposing brings dignity to people. People are waking up to the importance of Catholic education. There's been a lot of news articles published about Catholic education. And we have to look beyond COVID-19 into the reality of what our world's going to look like. It's increasingly anti-Catholic. And that's just the truth. It's the hard truth. Unlike our public schools, we at St. John's will not be revising history or social studies. We won't be endorsing a cancel culture mentality. Subjects taught in the years 6 through 8, no matter where you're at, are sensitive and have become cornerstones for moral and social issues in our culture. We want to create a place where these kids who are developing can sort out and get well informed on the issues that they're going to face in society and in high school. Things like transgenderism, abortion, same-sex attraction. These things need a space where they can talk about these things and it be safe. And we're really doing our kids a big disservice by kicking them out at 6th grade. That's a very transitional time for them, and they really need us those next couple of grades. We have a responsibility to build a church, and this is part of building a church. And as we read in those first few slides from that booklet, we can see very clearly that the church and the school are very important pillars of a community, the Catholic school. And where one goes, the other should go as well. It fits our history that we would make changes like this. We made progress and changes. We added kindergarten, as you heard from Mrs. Colling. We added preschool. And so it fits our MO, if you will. We have a great deal of family support. I'm not going to read all these, but I'm going to put them on the screen for you. Definitely interested in 7th and 8th grade for both children. I have an 8th grader next year and would consider switching him to 8th if 8th grade opened up. It would be good to add 7th and 8th grade. Go for it. That would be awesome. Would absolutely love it if 7th and 8th grade. We would love St. John's to continue on. Right now, we're looking at Catholic schools and other communities for a 7 through 12 experience. The longer we can stay at St. John's, the better. This is amazing news. We would love to have our kids go through 8th grade. We would love to stay here through 8th grade. So our families are definitely on board. In fact, to the point where when we ask them, oops, I'm sorry, I went too slide. When we asked them on a survey whether they would be likely to stay, our K through 4th grade families, 96% of them said that they were very likely to stay, to continue all the way through 8th grade if it were added. And 46% of those said that the fact that we're exploring the addition of 7th and 8th grade positively swayed their decision to continue forward. So if you don't believe me that I'm making these facts up, I can show you the survey results. So come on in anytime you'd like, but these are the real results of the surveys that we sent out. We also have endorsement from Bishop Cozzens and Archbishop Hebda. So back in the fall, we had to put something to the Archbishop called a significant change proposal. It was something like 8 pages long. It was very detailed. And within a week, we got approval from the Archbishop with no questions, no follow-up questions. And so the Archbishop is fully on board with this. There's still steps that we have to go through, of course, with any of this stuff. There is a lot of oversight on this. This isn't just something that we do on our own, but when we do this, we have oversight from the Archdiocese in 4 ways. The first is Jason Slattery is the director of the Office of Catholic Education. So he's overseeing the whole thing as well, and he approves of it. The Archdiocesan CFO, Tom Mertens, is going to make sure we follow the right protocols financially. Bishop Cozzens is involved heavily in Catholic education in this area. And then, of course, Archbishop Hebda. So what is the plan? Well, the plan is that in the fall of 2020, we formed a team to explore and to do some feasibility study components. We began working then late fall to put together that significant change request, and we can make that available to anyone who'd like it. I don't have a problem with that. If you want to see that large document we sent to the Archbishop. We applied for it, we received approval, and I think it was the 2nd or 3rd week in December. We engaged an architect to explore space concepts for us. Nat Shea is the guy's name, and he's doing a great job for us. We have renderings already, and we're ready to put it out to bid. Adolphson Peterson was the company that built this building originally, and it just so happens that I know the CEO, Jeff Hansen. He was a parishioner at Our Lady of Grace. He was head of the finance council there. And so I reached out to him and I said, Jeff, we're going to do this project. And he got me in touch with Andrea Adolphson, so one of the founding members. And so they're going to help us to bid this out. And he said, we're going to take care of you. So it's really, I feel comfortable there. So our spring, so as we move forward through the rest of winter, we'll put that out to bid. We'll evaluate, choose a contractor, begin construction as soon as possible so that we can have this done by the fall and complete construction over the summer. The fall of 2021, we would move our 5th and 6th graders up to the upper floors, and we would move our 4th graders back into that pod, we call it, or I call it, back there in the hallway. And then it would open up that vacant 4th grade classroom for Saint Squad. Then in the fall of 2022, so not this next year, the year after, we would add 7th grade. And then the next year, the fall of 2023, we would add 8th grade. Now there's lots of different ways we could do this. We could combine 7th and 8th grade for a year or two. Because we do have reasonable numbers there. We would have about 22, well, with Guardian Angels families coming over, there's going to be a lot more. but we could get creative with that for a year or so to help manage costs as they come up. But that's my part of the presentation. I want to turn it over to Mark. Let me see here if I can spotlight him. And I'm going to turn it over to Mark, and Mark is going to talk about our financial situation. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Father, and good evening, everybody. For those that don't know me, as Father said, I'm Mark Zimich. I'm the Finance Council Chair. Moved to Jordan in 2010, and I've been on Finance Council for over 8 years, and I've been a Finance Council Chair for over 6 years. So when you sit there and look at this growth for our school and for our parish, people ask, okay, so how do you pay for this? And So one thing I looked at was our financial position, and something that really jumped out at me was just tracking the years I've been on finance council with our parish subsidy. It really shows the strength of our parish and the strength of the school families in relationship to the parish families in supporting the school. 2014-15 fiscal year, we about hit our peak for the parish subsidy. I mean, we were as high as 38.9%. Archdiocese, they would like you to be at 24%, between that 20 to 24% range. So we were definitely way higher than we would like. You turn ahead to last year, 2019 to 2020, our parish subsidy was right in line with the Archdiocese at 21.4%. And you can watch our school growth, and our school is growing into that 1920. And then you look at our current year with the students that we have, our parish subsidy so far this year has been 0%. The school is supporting itself. This doesn't happen by accident. The school families executing successful, fundraisers. That's what results in us not having to have a high parish subsidy up in that 38.9% range. The parish family supporting those school fundraisers, that helps. And then also that school leadership team, they're being good stewards with the funds that we have given them, and driving out costs. You look at the extra costs this year with COVID. If anything, I would have thought this year would have been the tough year, and finishing the end of last year, because we started hitting this in March of 2020, would have been our tough years. And here they're one of the 2 better years that we have, so we have a good strength in the support from the parish community for this. We also have parish endowments, which we don't talk about a lot of. There are 2 of them, the parish endowment and the school endowment. We have used these minimally over the years that I've been here on finance council. One thing about endowments is we never spend the principal or the money that's been invested. All we spend are the gains. So any capital gains. These are the dollars that we've had. They do change from month to month to month, depending on what the market does. Last time I looked at it, we had about $290,273 in that parish endowment. And we have $124,474 in that school endowment. Outside of the principal, that's above the principal amount that people have invested. So those numbers are available to us today. So what is our financial plan? And the big question, how do we pay for it? Well, we're going out and looking at bids, so we don't really know the total dollar amount. So all this can change, based on what the dollar amount comes in at. But a typically good plan that we have discussed that we think is very feasible is you go out and you get some large donors to pay for 1/3 of it. And if we get donors that cover half of it, that's even great. We can all celebrate. But try to get some large donors to cover 1/3 of it. The other 1/3, use parish fundraisers. Have some targeted fundraisers designed for this growth in our parish on that 2nd floor, and for growing out both the parish programs and the school programs to add that 7th and 8th grade. And then the last 1/3 is always financing. I'll bring up our mortgage. Right now, we do have a 3.95% interest rate on a mortgage, and our balance as of December 31st is $1,299,753. So we've come a long ways, because the mortgage started out at 10 million when they started many years ago. One thing about our current mortgage, though, is that it does run out in 2024 with about a $534,000 balloon payment. So we will need to refinance. Anyways, I've talked to Premier Bank. They'll refinance with us however we want, whatever terms we want. And right now they say they'll keep us at that 3.95% interest rate. They won't go lower, but with the way the interest rates right now are staying pretty low. I know they're starting to move up today, but I expect them to stay about that 3.95% for us if we do want to refinance in that. One thing that we don't show and how we pay for it is the endowments. So we do have that endowment money available to us. And when you look at the build out, as Father was talking about, there's parish space and school space both being built out, so we could use funds from either one of the endowments to help build out those spaces if needed. If we come up short in what we want to finance, or the parish fundraisers, or for large donors, we do have, that money available to us. So when you sit there and look at, to me, the financial plan and from the financial committee, we do have space, and we have the ability to fund this build out, paying for that second floor structure, in our current mortgage right now. And we really should ask ourselves, what has been our return on investment for that second floor? The parish has been paying, along with the school and all these fundraisers, for that $10 million, working it all the way down to 1.3, and we have a space that we haven't even used. So what a great chance for us to, fully utilize that space, add that value to the parish and the school. It'll help us grow. And, one thing that I know, I've heard, before in the past, if you're not growing, you are dying. So we have the funds, we have the means. The parish has shown over time that we can support this. It'll be good for the parish, and we are in good financial shape for doing this.
Great, thank you so much, Mark. So I just want to piggyback on that and just really highlight that last statement about how that second floor was built as a visionary idea, that it was going to be for the future. Sometime in the future, that space could be completed and we could, utilize it in some way, whether it was going to be with a school or, I know there was talk about before I got here with Chesterton possibly using it, or, and it was divine providence they didn't because we need it now. But the future is now. The vision is here. This is the time to do it. So all of that planning back in 2003 and 4, and the risk and the boldness of putting that second floor up, it was all for today. It's all for now. It's not for 10 years from now, because now we are at that crux point where we need to do something so we can continue to grow. And one of the questions that often comes up that I've fielded a few times is, well, shouldn't we pay down the debt before we take care of that, or before we build? And I would challenge any business owner or any entrepreneur to answer me that question, because you always make investments when the iron is hot. And so let's say you own a construction company and you know that if you buy a certain piece of equipment, maybe it's a specialty piece of equipment, maybe it's a bigger piece of equipment, your capacity and ability is going to grow. And now you can take on jobs you couldn't take on before, and you can bid on jobs you couldn't bid on before. And so now you have more opportunity to make income. This is the same kind of idea, that we have this, we're expanding our capabilities so that we can even do more. It's going to help to accelerate paying down the debt, because the more the parish subsidy is low and low and low and nothing, then we can start putting that money towards accelerating paying down the debt. So I just have a few closing comments on this part, and then we'll get to questions. So the first thing I want to say is that we have a principal that we're working on. We have 3 interviews. John Bruning, myself, and Tim Siebenaller, and Jonathan Brantner, our business administrator, will be meeting on Saturday with a person, an applicant, on Monday and on Thursday of next week. And my hope is by Friday to be making an offer to somebody. So we have an amazing principal coming on. People are seeing the opportunity and the vision that we're putting forth here, and really want to be a part of it. And as a whole, the Archdiocese just put out its kind of financial report for schools, and the Archdiocese has grown 4.5% since March of 2020. So certainly some of those people are people that chose to come here for COVID reasons, or a Catholic school for COVID reasons. But now it's our job to keep them and show them how great we are and the reason why they would want to stay. So I want to open it up to questions. The way we're going to handle questions is we're going to ask you to type into your chat window those questions, and we'll read those questions off. I was told to me that this is a good way to do this, and so I'm following instructions. I brought it up at the parish council meeting on Tuesday, and they thought that that was a good idea. So for tonight, I would ask you to please put your questions in the Zoom chat. We've also opened up a hotline number, and this hotline number, you could call and leave a message with your comments or questions or ideas, and we can get back to you. We can put them out in a more global way so everyone can see the answers. But that when you leave a message, it'll be directed to the entire team. It doesn't just go to one person. Everyone on the team will get that. And then the same for an email. We have an email address, agrowingvision@sjbjordan.org, and that will be forwarded to everyone. This information will be in the bulletin next weekend. So that hotline number will be in the bulletin, and the email address will be in the bulletin next weekend. So, or this coming weekend here. So, so if you don't have that number now, you can get it there, but it's 888-492-2640. So it's the same number as our number. I have a question that came in. If we grow faster, could we add 7th and 8th grade in the same year? We've considered that, and we're considering it even stronger because a lot of those kids from Guardian Angels are in that age range, and we're having to tell them, well, we can't accommodate that because we don't have 7th and 8th. And it's possible, certainly anything is possible. It would be a stretch, it would be a crunch. Part of this too is, so if you look at it, each classroom gets a certain amount of subsidy from the parish to cover the rest of the cost because the classroom's not bringing in enough income via tuition. So we need a certain amount of children in a classroom before we start to break even. Well, those early years now of preschool through about 3rd grade next year will be, will not need a subsidy because they'll be at a level that they're making enough money. So as the 3rd graders move to 4th grade the year after that, we have money that was being used as subsidy before that we could now invest in our 7th and 8th grade operational costs. So the operational cost would be things like the teacher, additional specialist, a part-time janitor. If Marty needs help, we bring on help for Marty. And so we're able to take that money we were using and push it forward. So as time goes on, we're just kind of moving it along. And then, you know, by the time Sam graduates, we're going to be in really great shape because we'll have all of our classes full. So the Capel family says that they agree with us. If there's ever a time to grow, this is it. We love your comments about the curriculum. Great, thank you. So while people are typing, I'll give some more information about what we've been working on with our team. Kayla, Mrs. Torberg, our 5th, 6th grade teacher this year, and Sue Calling, who will be coming back as a teacher next year, have been working hard on looking at curriculum, figuring out what does that new middle school look like from a curriculum perspective. And there's lots of different options with regards to things like that. So you can have a homeroom kind of situation where, you know, there's a bell that rings and the kids go to different classrooms. Certainly we have a classroom in there that would be a science classroom. So it's got the science stations, you know, with the sink and a Bunsen burner and all that kind of stuff, because then you're getting up into the grade levels in that. And so they've been working hard on thinking those things through now too. Will the tuition structure of the school change with the addition of middle school, or, for example, higher tuition at the middle school level? We haven't talked about that. And so my expectation at this time would be that we would want the new principal to weigh in on that, because certainly that new principal, we're also kind of holding off on some things so that the new principal can be involved in the decision making, because I don't want them to inherit bad decisions. So things like tuition, or things like the curriculum and stuff, that's going to be one of the first things that they start working on, is thinking about those things, because we don't want to say, well, we already made that decision. But I think at some point we probably would maintain the same level of tuition, but maybe in those years, if things start to go up, like fees or something, like, you know, for science lab or something like that, if we have to start buying dead frogs so we can dissect them, we might need to up the fees or something a little bit to cover things like that. So Kathy Lopick here. I would like to acknowledge a parishioner that probably makes this all possible. I think she's going to continue writing. What options, ideas are there to help support activities for 7th and 8th grade, busing to public and to participate possible? Yeah, I think you're talking about after extracurricular things, sports, choir, singing, all that stuff. Yes, so we've been talking about that. Our plan is that we would enter into a contract with the CERC, and that would be the place where we would have Phi-Ed for those upper grade levels. And so we would have a bus that would take them from here to the CERC. And of course, we're talking about something, you know, 2 or 3 years down the road from right now. That's our preliminary plan. Our new principal might have a better idea than we have, but our preliminary plan would be to use the CERC for sports stuff, and then to work with the public school as well for those other extracurriculars. Kathy's still typing. I just want to reiterate that as a therapist in the public middle schools for 18 years, there's nothing like a Catholic school education for character development, curricular rigor, and embracing positive mental health supports like movement, nature, and breathing. As a therapist, I can confidently say that the whole human is developed at SJB. I would also like to say that it is powerful to see families and kids have a common moral anchor during these times. Harbor, Luna, and I always forget her name, are loving it. So that's from Jamie. Let's see. This is wonderful. A comment from Anonymous, very excited about growing future parishioners for our parish, for sustainability in our community through our school vision. Thank you very much. Another point is that I'm recording this presentation, that we'll make it available on our website. So if you want to rewatch it to get some of those slides, to get some of that information down, if you missed it, we'll have that available on the website by like tomorrow morning. It'll take just a little bit of time to upload it. A question about the parking lot and about the old school lot. So the old school lot, there's a couple of things involved there. We're not selling it, we're listing it. So there's a big difference between that. And our listing is to do a couple of things. To gauge interest, we were approached by the city in November with a developer, and we met with Paul Johnson and Tom from the city and Paul Johnson, the developer, and they had some ideas for us. And we said, okay, let's sit down. And they were fairly ready to make an offer. And we said, well, if you're going to make an offer, then we need to actually see if there's other interest out there, because you don't just accept one offer. You got to figure out if there's competing, amounts so that it's best for us. So that's why we're listing it. We also want to show that we're doing our due diligence to try to make that a growth property for the city. But a sale of property is very complex. The first thing that needs to happen is we'd have a separate town hall to talk about that sale. If we did find an attractive offer, which nothing has come in since we've listed it, that's attractive for us. We would have a town hall to talk about it. The Archdiocese would have to approve it. They go through something called the College of Consultors. So the College of Consultors group would have to approve of it. The Archbishop would have to approve of it. And I'm requiring that the parish council also take a vote on this to sell, and the trustees, of course, as well. So there's a lot of people involved. It's not just crazy old Father Neil changing something up again. We're listing it. We may sell it if the right thing comes in, but who knows? Do we predict a loss of students once the virus goes away? No. Every family that's come here has come, as the Gables have said, has come here to stay here. And we have, I think we picked up 3 or 4 families, and each of them are thrilled with being here and have no expectation to leave. Kathy. Kathy Lopick, I was the church's early liaison to the building project and deeply involved. It was dedicated that we could not afford the top floor. It was decided that we could not afford the top floor. So it was not going to be in the final plans. But Diana Gable was passionate about us having upper grade levels, and she set about raising $600,000 necessary to rough out the top floor. And she accomplished that. I did not know that, Kathy, and that I need to meet Diana Gable if I haven't yet, and I need to thank her because she was the visionary who said this needs to happen, and that's amazing. From the Brantners, Nicole, we love St. John's. Our son has flourished from 2 years ago in preschool. He's now in kindergarten, and we are so excited to have him go through middle school, and Nicholas joined him for preschool in the fall. We feel blessed to have our kids go to St. John's. There was another part to this. Let's see, I don't want to miss these questions. Would there be an opportunity for kids to be involved in band at SJB, like playing instruments starting in the 5th grade? Certainly that's a possibility. We talked about that as well as like drama or art in performance art kind of things. And so as we grow, we can start to take those things on we can have part-time people help with those things. And so we don't have it like concretely in the plan, but that's the natural evolution of the plan. Does that make sense? Like if we were going to add that, well, then we have to add those other things too. We have to figure out how we can make that accessible to our kids. So either it's going to be here or if they can be involved in the public school in some way. I think there was one other part here. From another person, had St. John's had 7th and 8th grade now, our youngest daughter would still be there and we would love it. That's awesome. Thank you for your support. I believe there was one question about the cost to educate a student at St. John's. I believe that tuition covers about 1/3 of the cost to educate a student. And so tuition's $4,100. I think that's about right. It's less than 1/3, or it's more than 1/3, pardon me. So $4,100 is more than 1/3 of the way there. So it's close to half, I think, the tuition covers. Between 1/3 and half, somewhere in, not good with fractions. I became a priest, so I didn't have to do math. Okay, great. We'll just give it a few seconds here to see if any other questions come in. See if I missed anything we were talking about. One of the things that we hear a lot from families is that they want a one transition solution. So I'm really excited to be able to sit down with a prospective family, let's say in 3 years, and say, we can get you all the way through from preschool to high school. And, you know, if we have enough interest, certainly things like busing from here to Holy Family in Victoria is a very real possibility. And so, you know, that's part of the vision of the future. But again, not like next week. We don't have plans and how much a bus costs and all that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But our vision is that we would be able to create a space where you could come, have your kids all the way from preschool until they go to college, and be able to present something to them. And certainly we would be able to get them through 8th grade and then on to high school. If they wanted to go to public school here, it's a very good school. But this does not pertain to growth on the school, but what is our parking plan if the old school lot is sold? So this was something that I didn't know about until Tom brought it up to me in November from the city, that there's something called a contingent parking plan, or it's something like that. And our old school lot is the contingent parking plan for when they built the, or overflow parking when they built the school. And so he said that that could be revised if we were to sell the old school lot, that there is a possibility of revising that plan and having another space used for that plan. And so that would be another hurdle that we would have to overcome if we were to sell that. I see a lot of hurdles in front of us in selling that lot. So that is where it is. Someone said, having a priest so invested in the school is a huge blessing. Thank you. Well, that's very kind. Relationships built between St. John's and future Catholic high schools will grow with direct transitioning along with financial support if we do this. Yeah, I totally agree. The fact that we don't have 7th and 8th grade makes it difficult for those other schools to have a transition plan for the kids if they want to move from here to, say, Holy Family. So if they did, then they got to go here, then they got to go to public school for a couple of years, then they got to bump back over to the other school. Could we partner with whomever buys the old school lot to allow parking specifically on the weekend? Yes, certainly. If we were to do something like that, we could we could make that a possibility. Absolutely. But again, I think if I were to put it in a football term, we're on about the, you know, we're on our own 5-yard line. We got 95 yards to go with that. So it's way down the line. Very exciting, Father Neil. Thank you for championing this and for all of the SJB families. Well, you know, we have an amazing team here. It's not just me. There are so many people who do so much, and I'm so proud of our team. So I'm gonna start crying. Well, I think we're gonna wrap up unless anybody else has any questions. I don't want to cut anyone off if they're typing. But again, we recorded this, and then you have those options. Please avail yourself of them to call that number, call that hotline number, 888-492-2640. So it's the same number as the church with just 888 in the front. Give it to people you know who weren't able to join us tonight, people who weren't able to call in or get on Zoom. And so get that number to them. It's in the bulletin. It'll be in the bulletin. And then also the email address if somebody wants to email us, growingvision@sjbjordan.org. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and God bless you all. Thank you.